Customer experience is more like a revolution. It's changing the mindset of people, of how they do business every day. When we look at the CX index, when we look at the simplicity index, we can see that those are the organizations that are growing in market share. So it's customer experience that does that for you. It's awesome. I think of all the critical customer touch points associated with one of those progressive personas. What are the listening paths that we have in place on each of these critical milestones? Where do we need to create more opportunities to expand our listening engine and invest in those capabilities where you can tendril out and know how customers feel about you on all these critical touch points?
Do you think like AI can really help fill such gaps? And if yes, how?
So many ways. The AI capabilities inside of these customer experience management platforms and other related systems, it's amazing what we can do now to draw more insights in from more places, to be able to see it more clearly, and to set really intelligent triggers and guidelines and other things to automate the loop closure in meaningful ways. One, just right there. But then, when it absolutely makes sense, a human representative of the company to be involved, to be seeing an opportunity to generate additional loyalty.
How do you think like brands can implement that voice of customer into their day-to-day operations to make sure that customers hear back like, yes, we received it and we're acting on it?
So a lot of people are just kind of creating feedback channels, whether that's structured or unstructured. They're putting them out there a little bit willy-nilly. Maybe it's out of desperation, maybe it's out of a survival mode or a reactive mode, but they're not thinking through when we start to receive this feedback, how can we do the right things with it? Do we have the right resources in place? Do we have the right process? Do we have the capable auto responses? And then as we get weightier feedback, to your point, do we have that capability to respond in kind?
Where do you see the trends are going?
There's so much CX sameness in that AI conversation.
When it comes to customer experience, you can't have the conversation without mentioning Nate Brown. He's one of the most recognized voices in CX today, known for bringing empathy, strategy, and culture together to drive real business impact. As the co-founder of CX Accelerator and head of education and enablement at Metric Sherpa, Nate has helped thousands of leaders transform how they serve and engage customers from the inside out. In this episode, we dive into what it really takes to build a customer-centric culture that scales, one that starts with employees, thrives on purpose, and delivers outcomes that last. Let's welcome Nate Brown. Nate, welcome. You have been very active on the customer experience space. You are a face of customer experience in the community. Among the top leaders that anytime I talk about customer experience, your face comes into my mind, and the kind of conversations you are having, really eye-opening.
Well,
Thank you for your time today.
I'm sorry my face is popping in your head, but I'm thrilled to be here. And I absolutely love this community. And as Justin Robbins says, let's be unavoidable in terms of our activity and us trying hard to really lift up this space. So I'm glad that that's coming through.
I want to take your opinion on the voice of customer. You talk about a lot on the closing the loop with customers.
Yeah.
If anything, positive or negative. Why it is important, of course, we know that. But what happens after? What does really closing the loop means when we're talking at scale? How does it work? And how you make sure the loop is closed?
Yeah.
Not every customer is responding. So
Sure.
what's your thoughts?
They're a great thing to be thinking about in the beginning, because it really, if you think about any good customer experience initiative, it's going to begin with a very competent voice of customer engine, to use that Gene Bliss term. So I love that we're starting here now. As I think about closing the loop, it's going to happen at a couple different layers. But really what matters in this process is that the customer feels as though they've been heard, as though their feedback actually matters. That in my mind is successful loop closure. Are we always going to do something specific about their feedback? No, that's unrealistic. Are we always going to do a very personal touch with every single voice of customer feedback element that we get? No, that's unrealistic as well. So it's thinking about, okay, based on the nature of the feedback that we received and the, I guess you could say, the intimacy of the interaction, we're going to appropriately, sustainably close the loop. So there are absolutely times, there's a great app that I love with a fast food restaurant that I won't mention because I'm a little embarrassed. Do an amazing job. Like whenever they ask for my feedback, I'm regular to give it to them. And through the app, they make it clear to me through very empathetic language and just good human interaction there, through the app itself that yeah, they value my feedback. Did the actual operator Bo have to get on and personally type a message? No, he didn't, but he has. And
Yeah.
there's times in where they absolutely get involved when there's a more significant nature to the feedback. It's more meaningful, whether more positive or more negative. There's just an element of weight to it. And that's where our loop closure looks a little different. And yeah, we're going to personally jump in and make sure that we absolutely honor the voice of that customer, that we do the right things to demonstrate the appropriate level of listening. That's the balance in my mind, Nav. If it's minor feedback, dealt in a very quick format, then we can have that quick response and that light response back to them to close the loop. If it's heavier, then our reciprocation, our response should be heavier.
Problem starts like there are variety of feedback that we receive. Sometimes there are good notes as well. I mean, sending a thank you note on good notes is
Yeah,
still a big deal for customers. They put effort. Usually, happy customers don't speak.
true.
Most feedback you see online on anything like are bad experiences, right? People don't talk often on the good experiences. That's implicit today, right? So the study has proven that like if you hear the feedback and act on it, regardless positive negative, but if you close the loop, increases your retention by 30%.
Okay.
How do you think like brands can implement that voice of customer into their day-to-day operations to make sure that customers hear back like yes, we received it and we're acting on it, like at scale? How can that happen?
Yeah, I mean, it's thinking through the experience of collecting feedback on the experience. Sometimes we forget to do that, ironically. So I always
Mm.
think about Nav. We should never be asking for more feedback than we can sustainably do something about. So a lot of people are just kind of creating feedback channels, whether that's structured or unstructured. They're putting them out there a little bit willy-nilly. Maybe it's out of desperation, maybe it's out of a survival mode or a reactive mode, but they're not thinking through when we start to receive this feedback, how can we do the right things with it? Do we have the right resources in place? Do we have the right process? Do we have the capable auto responses that give us that capability to at a minimal level at least acknowledge the feedback and make the customer feel heard at the most simple and remedial level. And then as we get weightier feedback, to your point, do we have that capability to respond in kind?
And personalize the experience.
Yeah, I mean, not on everything.
Yes.
You just don't need to do
Yeah.
on everything, but, like, if you've got some customer that, you can see through the data that you have, this customer has been with you for 7 years, and they finally, give you some significant feedback, whether that's positive or negative, being able to jump in and, "Hey, gosh, thank you so much for your loyalty over these years, and by the way, this is really helpful, this comment here. Here's what we're gonna do about that." Like, anything in that realm. Or, it could be a positive thing of, "Thank you so much for that comment about Sally. She's one of our best. We've gone over and made sure that she felt loved today, and we just so appreciate you expressing that gratitude to her." Serotonin. So often now we use the voice of customer engine as a whip, and we're just cracking the whip, and we're not using it to motivate people. I was actually consulting with a client just not too long ago where, I mean, they were getting a significant amount of negative voice of customer responses back and a significant amount of really positive ones. Like, this is a brand where you have strong feelings. People have strong feelings towards this brand. And the support manager would only go through and respond to the negative ones. And all the
Hmm.
positive ones just went into the ether. And I'm sitting here,
Okay.
no, like there's so much quality to that feedback and there's so much intrinsic motivation potential that you could use with the staff members that are specifically called out there, or at least just making that customer customer feel honored and appreciated for them taking time to express how much they love you as a brand. Like, that's important.
More than number of feedbacks and the quantitative analysis or bunch of words analysis, like there are a lot of hidden sentiments in the feedback as well, and where like intelligent systems can detect signals to proactively catch those and have some good programs around those as well.
Absolutely. I mean, shout out to
Yeah,
Survey System and Zevo AI. Like, there's some amazing tools out there that can give us insights that we've never had before. And the ability to take at scale voice of customer expressions and do
exactly.
something with it. Like, not just draw out summary insights, which obviously that's wonderful, but, like,
Yes.
trigger different pathways and meaningful outcomes that would have been an administrative nightmare to try and achieve before. It's gotten smart, Nav. It's wonderful.
Enabling employees also matters here, because just having tools in the ecosystem on the tech stack wouldn't help understand the voice of customer well, even before closing the loop. It is just enablement of your staff and make them understand the voice as well, right? So even I wrote an article like a couple of years ago, and it got good attraction too, like silence of the customer matters as well, right? So there are a lot of signals in the data to understand like what customers are active, passive, what are they talking and what they're not talking,
Yeah.
and how to understand all that. But all that can only brought into the system when our employees have that
Mm.
mindset to understand all that.
I think
So
that's so important.
talking,
I can't battle my real quick because I've got a cool little story there. I mean,
okay,
when I was working
let's go
at a
ahead.
safety science company, and
Okay.
I was realizing, like, I wanted a customer experience management platform, a tool, and for a
Mm-hmm.
variety of reasons, I couldn't have it at that time. But I realized what you just said, voice of customer is more a mindset than it is a tool. And so I got these little buttons, little US WebKey buttons, and when my contact
Simple thing. I understand.
when they
Yeah.
got meaningful customer feedback as part of a service interaction, they would hit this button and they would log not just the ticket resolution, not just we fixed the issue, but here was the meaningful customer feedback that we got. It transformed the psychology that they had towards the customer interaction. It was awesome.
This is a great tool. It's very simple, but it means a lot to understand so many signals. I agree. So, how businesses and leadership should enable their employees actually to understand this aspect of customer experience, data, having enough tools, how to enable employees? What are your like top three areas that you think businesses should invest in?
Yeah, and as we think about like voice of customer activation, where should they?
Correct. Like enabling employees to be perfect at understanding voice of customer and act on it.
You know what the case study that pops in my head is CVS. So they have an unbelievable voice of customer program led by Melissa, just a remarkable CX leader. And what she has built around their voice of customer activation is something really special. But one of the things that stuck out to me about it was what they call progressive personas. So I mean, they invest in
That's right.
education
Yeah.
around who it is that they're serving. And how can we fill the void for them? How can we be an effective guide for them and bring them to their definition of success? But in order to achieve that, you got to know what that is. You got to know your customer really well and where they're trying to navigate to and how they think and how they perceive the world and what matters to them. If you're going to be an effective guide for them and connect the dots and fill in the gaps, you've got to have that specialized knowledge. So investing in that type of progressive persona education is step one to me. What do you think about that?
You are actually hitting my nerve right now.
Yeah.
So, I am investing a lot of my time in understanding real time customer data profiling.
Mm,
Okay.
beautiful.
So it's CDP
Mm,
per se. And on the area where I work, like on digital optimization, I am actually getting into deeper to define and keep it updated in real time based on customer interaction to the business and their predictable next steps. So we can assign them into the appropriate customer journey and then, okay, of course, like convert them and make it to the business revenue in the end. Yeah, so this is very important for both B2B and B2C segments. And I have seen like this area is on a very high demand right now. And if
mm,
job seekers are listening to it or watching this, I would encourage them to keep them educated on the customer data profiling and how to keep it updated in real time based on customer interactions, because this is a time of AI. hyper personalization, and there is a lot. I mean, you visit a website, you're not sure the person sitting next to you on the same desk even seeing the same kind of website content. I mean, it might be a different content for that person based on the persona, and that happens in real time. Look at Amazon. Every time, yeah, you based on your action, things change even for the same search term. That's called hyper personalization. There is a lot of examples, and customer data profiling is super important.
I agree. Yeah, that's one in my mind. So then two, I like to do what I call a listening path map. So I think of all the critical customer touch points associated with one of those progressive personas, and I think about what are the listening paths that we have in place on each of these critical milestones, structured and unstructured. So when I say that, what I mean is how have we invited our customers to give us feedback on this critical area of their journey? And how are they naturally, organically already doing that out in the world? And how can we be there to inherit that insight as well? Whether those are third party,
That's a good point.
Discord, Reddit. I mean, the treasure trove of insight that brands can gain in those areas, depending on the nature of your customer relationships, are so deep and important. So being present in those unstructured areas are tremendously important. So creating that listening path map will really help you to isolate, where do we need to create more opportunities to expand our listening engine and invest in those capabilities where you can tendril out and know how customers feel about you on all these critical touch points. So that would be number two.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And there is a say going as well, perception is reality.
Yeah, well,
And customer experience is all about perception.
yeah.
Doesn't matter like
Mm.
how good your brand is, but if customer doesn't like it, it's not good.
You
Good enough.
feel those arrogant brands that are like, we've done what we do. Go suck an egg, customer. Like this is what we give you. Instead of like trying to
Exactly.
learn and understand and know like how can we best serve and evolve our relationship with these customers. And you can feel the arrogance of some of those brands.
Absolutely. Any thoughts on the overlooked opportunities, the low hanging fruits? I mean, not every business can have a dedicated team or a role for customer experience management. Again, like I'm contradicting, it's not one person's job, but again, as a company, as a business, what are those overlooked opportunities that people should keep it in mind?
Well, I think it is really important that the customer experience, really the voice of customer function does have leadership that is intentional, that is designated, and that is separate from a specific business entity at all possible. The reason I say that, we have to maintain the integrity of the voice of customer process. I've seen way too many times
Good point.
on a little bit hijacked by a particular bias or agenda of a group inside the organization that are trying to achieve their own objectives, and they can't see the big picture of the customer. They can't maintain the neutrality of just trying to offer the perspective, the fish on the dish of here's what the customer thinks and feels about us. It's really hard for somebody that's deeply embedded in marketing, where we're trying to
Hmm.
manage the customer relationship and show lead generation. It's really hard for the customer service professional who's trying to show the value, the strategic value of the customer service interaction. It's really hard for the product manager who's trying to show that those
Yeah.
features that I went to bat for and I got in the product, that they're not achieving the objectives that I promised. Like it's really hard for people to step out of their box. So somehow that we have to keep that voice of customer sacred and have the integrity of it. One way to do that is to have a CX change coalition. And this, to your
Mhm.
point, sometimes an organization can't have higher designated resources to specifically do voice of customer. So how do you do this together? Having a really good customer experience management platform, and then
Mhm.
having a group of stakeholders who care about
Okay.
customer experience, who are holding one another accountable, who are bringing balance to the equation together. And I use that phrase, the Customer Experience Change Coalition. It's straight out of John Coder, who talks about having a change coalition. Uh,
So it's like a CX office, like PMO for project management world.
it's an extension of it. You have different leaders that represent the critical stages of the customer journey. Them and other critical stakeholders are included in this change coalition, and they together are orchestrating and helping to administrate this voice of customer process and holding balance, holding accountability across the customer journey to it.
Great point. The point you mentioned before, the integration of systems across all teams, that is, I think, number one point all businesses should consider that is often overlooked. There are a lot of systems, a lot of technologies and services subscribed. And I covered that in another conversation about complexity of MarTech or like general tech stack of a
Yeah,
company. I mean, there are a lot of services sitting there. Teams usually don't even know like the systems exist. They have that capability and they start looking outside for new vendors to bring over and use that service. Like
great.
sometimes it's already sitting in. But coming to the point is like there should be one system, as you mentioned, like on a customer profiling, like 360-degree preview of a customer where data like what is their install base, their previous purchases, their renewal cycles, their budget, their share of wallet with us, and analytical data, like what interactions they are having with us, what our salespeople talking. And that's another area, like I learned from a study that those systems are not up to date as in like operationally.
Yeah,
Like sometimes most conversations stay in between the sales rep and the customer.
yeah.
And once sales rep leaves,
Hmm.
the information is all lost. The persona of that customer for rest of the team and the business get complicated
Yeah,
because they don't know exactly how that customer perceives us and how can we leverage more opportunities with them. We have to start over and then customer experience starts to decline,
mm,
leads to churn eventually or at risk.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, so I think that is very important and often overseen area that there should be strict governance, and your this core group of customer experience governance can actually ensure
Yeah,
operationally
yeah, help.
data is coming to a single source of truth.
Yeah.
That is super important.
So many organizations do voice of customer in little pockets,
Yes.
just for their group, just for their part of the journey that they care about. And it's so easy for
Yes.
that to not only become bias and not representing the truth, but also it doesn't connect. It doesn't connect in a way where we can see the impact of one part of the journey on the other. Because as you
Yeah.
mentioned, it's all about perception and expectations and different things. So if the sales team is setting expectations up here of what the customer's journey is going to look like, and then those expectations aren't met through implementation and through the service experience and beyond, we have to be able to see those dots connect and the impact they have on one another.
Boardrooms don't really care if one team is performing well and others not. Like they worry about like overall dashboard of a business performance, and that's where like all journeys matter. Every touch point matters.
I mean, think about the cultural implications of that. Like, if these leaders are being incentivized to protect and to galvanize the performance of their department and to be able to show proof of the impact they're having with their silo, their team, that's where this stuff is born. So you do have to have a culture where executives are truly supporting one another. There's an authentic customer centricity that exists where, I mean, people are supporting each other and holding each other accountable to the lens of the customer, not to their own. I've got to make sure my stuff looks good so that I get my
Yeah,
onus target met or whatever.
happens.
It's being able to look outward at the things that matter so much more.
And do you think like AI can really help fill such gaps? And if yes, how? Because my take is like customer experience is so much sensitive to human emotions, and handling it with a playbook or a checklist, which traditionally has been proven as well, doesn't work. It has to be very like personalized communication and experience. With AI, any learning so far that from your world of the work that like how can it help scale?
So many ways. I mean, if we think about how limited we've been in the past with our voice of customer capabilities to know truly how our customers think and feel about us, the AI capabilities inside of these customer experience management platforms and other related systems, it's amazing what we can do now to draw more insights in from more places, to be able to see it more clearly, and to set really intelligent triggers and guidelines and other things to automate the loop closure in meaningful
Yeah.
ways. One, just right there. But then when it absolutely makes sense for a representative of the company, a human representative of the company to be involved, to be seeing an opportunity to generate additional loyalty and to earn share of wallet as part of that customer feedback element, to be getting to engage that person,
Yeah.
triggering that event. And like so much of those opportunities have just not been identified and followed through upon because we couldn't see it or meaningfully administrate that process. Now we can.
I think my take is to your to complement on your feedback is operationally we can automate a lot of manual work where we can save time, and human element of the job can even get better on the same role and give more value to understand that emotional aspect of the customer feedback, the voice, and have agents trained over time with that human practice to learn it at scale, because like when we're talking about thousands and millions of customers,
Yeah.
um, especially in the B2C, there is a scale as such. How can we humanly possibly look at data from all of these? And to your point, visualization can really help here, and AI can understand patterns,
Mhm.
generate predictive analysis and recommendations
Yeah.
quite faster than humanly possible, right?
Yeah.
So operationally it is helpful, but my perspective is operationally today, at least today, operationally it is very efficient. We can fast track our understanding on the data and do several analysis from very different angles, and even with generative AI we can even talk to data and have very like human friendly format in the answers and can act based on that.
Oh.
Any success story you want to share from your experience, like using data, using technology, and how things changed for any of your clients?
Yeah, there's a retailer that I've worked with in the Midwest where we incorporated this idea of these active personas, these living personas, and
Mm.
the rebirth of an excitement of a customer centricity. And then we activated the customer service team with what we called VOC C3, and it's this
Mm.
idea of I'm going to think critically about my job and the interactions that I get to have with these customers and how strategic they can be. So at the end of the day or even the end of the week, I'm going to go in, I'm going to identify one thing that's working really well that we've learned through the persona process, the
Ah,
education. Like I am able to serve my customer better because of this thing we chose
the
for this.
the pattern in the most successful journey path.
Yeah, so that would be
Mm.
1. 2,
That's a good one.
what's a gap? Like, what's something where it feels like I should be able to serve the customer better, but I'm held back for some reason? Let's identify
The roadblock.
that. And then the third one is just, what's a way that I can be supporting my colleagues internally with giving up our information, our insights that we're getting through these great service interactions? How can I help to educate my peers and ultimately to make the organization smarter with every customer interaction? So I become a knowledge curator for our centralized knowledge unit, but also for my peers in other areas of the organization. So things like that, I mean, it combined with more intelligent tools, the psychology in conjunction with the better process,
Yeah.
things happen, Nav. Good things. Good things.
Good things. Data is everywhere. There is a lot of data in any organizations.
Yeah.
As I said, like we touched on it. There's services a lot, and VOC is happening in silos. There is a huge amount of data in any organizations,
Yeah.
but insights are missing. All those teams, they might have good picture in their area, but like as you see the trend on the stock exchange,
Yeah.
sometimes there are spikes, there are like downfall, and then spikes, downfall, and then overall, when you zoom out and look at the big picture, that's what tells you the actual trend.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. In that format, yeah. So visualizing data and bringing insights from it, as you said, like those understanding of successful journeys, understanding of roadblocks,
Yeah.
and these are the storytelling way of your data. It's just not just like some set of metrics on the slide. It's just you have to create a story based on that. Like if something is there, KPI signal is green.
Yeah.
What does green signify, and why it is green? Since when it is green? And if it is not green, then like what changed? If it was green for 6 months, not this month, like what has changed?
Yeah.
Right, so all those like reasoning behind any number needs to happen on the table as well, right? It should be visible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris from Spirit Airlines shared a cool example of this from the Reuter show. He mentioned that they ran their voice of customer insights through an automation engine, through an AI engine, and it identified this pattern that they would have never seen, where negative sentiment was coming from this very specific customer group, where there was this one niche event that would happen in their scheduling system that would ultimately separate couples apart from each other. And the engines made this amazing correlation. And so yeah, that was a cool example of the capabilities of the finding the trends, finding the themes with thousands and tens of thousands of data points, and improving the visualization. But then it becomes up to us to do something meaningful with that. That has not changed.
Yeah, I want to talk about new trends, but before that, I just our conversation that we had the other day, like I think a couple months ago, you mentioned in a conference like someone came on the stage showing up their product, and when someone asked like how it is helping the climate, if there is anything you are taking care of the environment or sustainability, and they blacked out and wasn't considering that. And sustainability is definitely should be on the priorities list on the business strategy of corporates. And yeah, but that is not the conversation here. What I want to get to next is talking about conferences. And I'm watching you, I'm following you on the social media that you're going to like many conferences lately. And of course you would have like a lot of information at this point, like what's coming up, what's happening in the market, what's trending, what's successful, and anything interesting. So where do you see the trends are going on the technology side supporting customer experience? Of course, like AI, I think is the only word that is being discussed more than CX today, but like CX is not even far behind AI. So where do you see this combination is going, learning from conferences, meeting leaders, and looking at different solutions coming up? What's the trend? What's next?
Well, there's certainly a lot of trends, a lot of things
I'm
going
sure
on.
it's tough. Yeah.
As you make that comment around AI being on everybody's mouth, you got to look at the post that Justin Robbins had coming out of Call
Uh,
Center Week, and the mini epidemic of what he calls CX sameness, and how so much of the messaging around the AI tools was identical to one another. And when he would probe for additional information, the narrative would fall apart a little bit, or it would become very unqualified. So, having depth, having clarity, having real purpose, that's going to be the separator. There's so much CX sameness in that AI conversation. It's not clear what the value proposition is. It's not clear what the unique differentiator is, but between many of those organizations that we're representing at this conference. So, I think that's really important is to double down on the things that make you truly unique, truly special, and to have really clear distinctive messaging around that. So that's where I would start in terms of one of the things that we saw, coming out of these conferences.
Today, like most customers are interacting with businesses on the digital platform. A lot of customers experience have shifted to digital aspect. Of course, human interactions happening on the contact center where we talk about CX a lot,
Yeah.
but still like there is a lot of interaction happening passively on the digital media where less human intervention, and there are a lot of automation is implemented as well. And I come from digital experience side. I know like how heavily I am involved in the digital experience, understanding customer behavior, emotions, sentiments, frustration factors, and like improving on the customer journeys the best possible way to give them the most pleasing and shortest path for conversion, right?
Yep.
So that's the goal. What do you think about value of digital in the customer experience, and what business leaders should consider about it from the prioritization side, from the enablement of the team side, because it takes a lot of training inside to the staff as well. Employee experience needs to improve as well. And I talk about the recent acquisition of ServiceNow acquiring MoveWorks is a great example of marriage of employee experience and customer experience. I mean, I think regular listeners to my podcast, I think, would be listening to this term almost in every other episode. Yeah, because I like that acquisition. Employee enablement is super critical. Previously, like companies were focusing on customer aspect the more and pushing employees to just deliver it, but it's not possible. Happy employees make happy customers. So, what is your take on the digitization of customer experience? Coming from conferences and looking at different tools, is it safe to rely on digitization specific to customer experience since it is too much related to sentiments and emotions and perception? What do you think?
Yeah, and there are a couple questions in there, so I'll do my
I
best to
know.
cover. But so as I think about the ways that brands are engaging with customers today, I mean, there's so many different types of relationships that brands have. As we think about healthcare, as we think about financial institutions, that's going to look a little different in some of those more regulated environments. But I look at luxury retail as an example, and in
Hmm.
many ways, luxury retail in the past and certainly today has shown us what's possible in the world of customer experience and the ways that we relate to our customers. And they are today in this area of the digital experience. And I think about ThreadUp, I think about Nordstrom, I think about Warby Parker, I think about Crate and Barrel, and I'll use them as an example. So having a really sophisticated digital entry point when there's a service opportunity, as an example, let's use the example of a broken vase. I've ordered a vase from Crate and Barrel. It has arrived, and unfortunately, there is a crack in the vase. So what am I doing? I'm going to Crate and Barrel. There's a great digital concierge that is there. I'm engaging with that digital concierge. That automated agent is very, very good at resolving the case of the broken vase. Like, okay, I see
Ah.
where you made that order. Is this the still the correct address? Okay, I've shipped that to you. You're gonna have a replacement vase in the next 2 days. We've got that taken care of for you. But that's not it, Nav. Like, it doesn't stop there. Because what is Crate and Barrel actually trying to do? They're not trying to sell vases. They're trying to make beautiful living spaces for the moments that matter. And the vase was a very small part of that relationship
Hmm.
customer has with Crate and Barrel and has had for 10 plus years. So the digital concierge is going to see that customer journey and be like, "Hey, I'm going to go and connect you with Harry. We're, just to make sure that we're doing everything we can to take care of you." Harry's gonna jump on, "Hey, so sorry about that vase. We got that shipped to you. That's done and dusted. Wanna make sure that we're talking, like, what are you thinking about with your living room right now? Like, where was that vase gonna be? Was it on a bookshelf? Was it over here?" Like, Harry's not concerned about the broken vase. Harry's concerned about making a beautiful living space for the moments that matter, and he is uniquely trained and upskilled to do next issue avoidance, to guide the customer to success beyond the ticket, beyond the problem. He's trying to achieve the purpose of the organization. So think about the implications of that for service professionals. The digital concierge has gotten so good, but it should be a true team with upskilled human agents who are going to create brand identity, further the relationship. They're going to guide the customer proactively in these really special ways. They're going
Hmm.
build community with their customers and make these really exciting connections. So that's going to be done in tandem. The digital concierge, the self-service capabilities with this upskilled, up-leveled, new thinking customer service talent. That's where all this is going in my mind.
This is a great example since we touched on perception and sentiments and very thorough experience on here with Crate and Barrel. I like the store, by the way. So, yeah, I bought like whiskey tasting glasses long ago, the Glenclear glasses. Yeah.
Very
So, yeah, I like the store, but I often go there as well. So, anyways, sentiments analysis we are talking right now, and you gave a great example of digitization of customer experience and analysis, and then work on it. Do you feel like analyzing customer experience, especially around sentiments and emotions, any changes needs to happen in that area compared to 5 years or 10 years ago analyzing customer experience? Do you think like, or the old wine in the new bottle will still good enough?
I've seen, like, I recently was consulting with an organization, and their sentiment engine was oversimplifying everything. And it was, like, accurate enough to be a little bit helpful, but it was also really dangerous because it was making these sweeping assumptions about what the agent was doing wrong on these interactions, and, like, common sense could immediately debunk, the conclusions that the sentiment analysis was coming to in terms of agent coaching and improvement. And this was very recent. So
Hmm.
the sentiment tool is so exciting in terms of what it should be able to do, what it will be able to do, but it can be really dangerous and really disabling, especially if we're trying to hold agents like accountable to that sentiment engine, especially if we're taking action, based on that analysis that's happening with real customer interactions. And we're responding and reacting based on that sentiment analysis. It's got to be accurate. It's got to be better than what I'm seeing come out from many of those engines today. So it has to continue to evolve, and it's got to be the type of thing where we're thinking about it in a bigger picture, in a big sense. As we think about like quality programs as an example, I love to say there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. That's not my words. I think it's a proverb. But you have the sentiment engine, and like that's one counselor, that's one mentor in your life as a customer.
Hmm.
Like, you also have your manager who's still listening to calls themselves and is still able
Yeah.
to hear and provide perspective. You still got people, other stakeholders in the organization that are seeing the interaction somehow and the impact of those interactions, and they're able to speak into that and provide guidance and provide helpful insight. So sentiment analysis is great. Don't depend on it holistically.
Great point. Pretty much, the deep dive is still valid. Engagement and like look at data as a team,
Yeah.
and having insightful stories are necessary still. Like because when you're doing it at scale, I mean, of course, random pick and quality check are definitely needs to happen, but still want to have like holistic preview of patterns and trends. Yeah, me coming from the digital experience side, especially like talking about website, so and sentiments at the same time. um, our benchmark few years ago was like the page loading should happen within 10 seconds,
Mm.
right? The web page should be loaded in 10 seconds. Now it has been reduced to 3
Mm.
seconds. Like if page is taking longer than at least, so that is why like the responsiveness of the website and complexity of web designs and integration of data behind the scene, every website is so much dynamic. Not just website, like even mobile apps are so much dynamic, and there's a lot of different elements involved to generate like one rendition of the screen, right? So but if user is not seeing the content starts loading in 3 seconds, at least for the first fold, the first frame on the screen, there are high chances that they will bounce back, they will not come back.
For sure.
So or they will leave the website and move on.
Bar
So and these are the benchmarks, and today we are in a time of reels, shorts, where there is no patience. Like if you engage with a video in like within a second, good, otherwise you just swipe. So that's what's happening. That's the time today with respect to user behavior on the digital world and emotions, and I'm sure, yeah, you would agree with this as well.
I cut bait very quickly when it comes to a digital experience that's frustrating me, that I feel
Yeah.
like there's friction that shouldn't be there, if it's wasting my time. Yeah, the bar has been elevated by organizations that have done an excellent job, and
Yeah.
that happens across all industries. So, it's helpful
Correct.
when you're, going back to healthcare, which, we like poking fun of healthcare because they tend to be a little outdated from a technology perspective. But when I'm having to go through a patient portal that looks like it's from the 1980s, and it takes me 30 minutes to do manual data entry, and then I go to the next form and it's exactly the same thing again, and they can't import any of the fields over. Like, you're like, what, why have I just stepped back 20 years? But
Uh-huh.
recently I went to a new patient experience. It was right on my cell phone, very intelligent, looked very good. So it's happening. It's happening.
It's happening. I would use a book title name here. What can go right? It's by a friend, Justin Bean, and I want to give him credit for the title. I want to use that title in our conversation right now.
CC.
The book is about sustainability, which is very complex, and like what can go right means
CC.
like sustainable, abundant for the climate, right? In such a case, for customer experience,
Hmm.
what can go right when leaders are fully committed and involved towards that track, like they prioritize customer experience? So what can go right in your thinking?
Everything. I mean, it's the way businesses grow. Look at the simplicity index. Have you ever seen that? It's a big one.
Hmm.
When companies are easy to do business with, and they help customers to accomplish their objectives. Like, and they remove friction on the quest to do that. Those are the organizations that are gobbling up market share today. They've simplified the customer experience. They've made it easy to do business with them. So I mean that's a
Uh,
great indicator. But there's so many. I mean, if we want to look at the numbers and the math of it all, there's that. But like, just like thinking about organizations where people want to work for them, they serve their
yeah.
customers well. They've developed pride around the brand. They've developed a community around the brand. There's legacy there, and there's importance to the promises that they make. And that's the type of organization that attracts top talent and has the ability to actually innovate and do something new and distinctive these days. Otherwise, you're just another face in the crowd. You're not going to survive in
Uh,
economy where people have access to the same remarkable technology, and the differentiators are the walls are falling down, like they're falling down. So what remains? What stands apart? What withstands the test of time today? It is your customer experience.
in that respect, what are those core elements that businesses should look for in the candidate to hire,
Mm,
uh,
yeah,
who can help in customer experience, and what companies should also invest to train existing
yeah.
staff to meet that bar?
Mm,
So, since not everyone is naturally inspired to be focused on customer experience when it gets to individual career growth,
yeah.
right? So, but businesses have to blend that element into every single role. And what do you think? Like, how can make it sustainable towards success of customer experience strategy blend into the business strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nev. I mean, I like to use the word pre-activated. The
Hmm.
right talent, the right candidate is somebody who's pre-activated to care about the mission of your organization and the people you serve. Period. You can't train that, you can't teach that. Maybe there's an awakening that could happen down the road, but it's unusual and it's unlikely. You want to find people who care as they come into the organization. They're going to do the right thing. They're going to work hard because it matters to them. So I was recently in an opportunity where I was hiring people into a major PRO, performing rights organization, working right there on Music Row. And I was looking for customer service talent to build a brand new contact center for the artists themselves, which was pretty cool. But I had three things in my mind. Does this person care about artists? Like, because that's what we do. Like, we are on the phone talking to artists all day and helping them.
Uh huh.
If this
Yeah.
person does not care about that individual and helping them to be successful, they will not be good at this job. Not for long. They can fake it for a little while, but they will not be motivated to come in every day and put it out there on the line to serve this individual if they are not pre-activated toward that matters to them. So that was number one. Number two was like music industry knowledge, which is very deep and complex. And then number three was customer service skill. So all those things matter, like industry expertise and having these true skills and capabilities and earning that experience over time. But nothing mattered more to me than that idea of pre-activation towards the mission.
Very good example. I like the orchestration term here as well. Since you're touching the music aspect of customer experience. So yeah, orchestration, the person who can orchestrate the available resources and create a little opera show
Sure.
within their capacity, right? At least, and also the keenness to learn and grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, learning curve is necessary. The attitude is important.
That's right. Yeah, and you mentioned, employee experience before. I did not answer that. I apologize. I missed that part of your question. I mean, you're so right. I love talking about Denise Leon, and she has this quote where people are given a gift by the
Uh,
organization. Your employees are given a gift from you as a leader, from the organization. That gift that they've received, that's the only thing they can sustainably pass on to the customer. They can fake
yes.
the gift for a little while, but then the inauthenticity of that will burn them out, will cause them to go. You will lose your top talent. But if you're giving your employees that gift to them of a great experience that matters, of caring about a meaningful mission, you're co-creating together towards something bigger, they could pass that on. They can pass that on.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
Exactly.
that community falls apart and it just becomes a job. And just a job does not innovate, does not give you top talent, does not create
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
a great
mm-hmm.
distinctive customer experience. It just doesn't.
Yeah, so that work culture will actually create happy employees, eventually happy customers.
Yeah, that's still true.
Very good conversation, Nate. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Nav. Great conversation.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I truly appreciate your time and attention. If something in this episode sparked a new idea, shifted your thinking, or even just made you nod along, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started. We might have made mistakes. I promise we will improve. In every episode, I'm going to dive deeper into such conversations that impact us. And hey, if you're vibing with what we are building here, share it with someone you trust. That's how good ideas spread. Until next time, think holistic, think economics, think fast, and keep leading forward.